So we start with ashrams now.
Okay.
So whenever we speak of ashram, it has got spiritual relationship. So all these four divisions of social order, brahmachari ashram, grahastha ashram, vanaprastha ashram, sannyas ashram, situation for spiritual cultivation. Generally we mean that. It is basically training to change the desire or aspiration.
Why?
You see, as one changes an old garment, so the individual living being also changes his body. And this change of body is called death. Death is therefore a process of changing the body at the end of the duration of the present life. An intelligent person must be prepared for this and must try to have the best type of body in the next life. The best type of body is a spiritual body, which is obtained by those who go back to the kingdom of God. Death is nothing but sleeping for a few months in order to develop another term of bodily engagement which we are awarded by the law of nature according to our aspiration. Therefore, one has only to change the aspiration during the course of this present body. And for this, there is need of training in the current duration of human life. The institution which gives such training is called Varnashram Dharma or the system of Sanatan Dharma, the best procedure for making the human life perfect. This training can begin at any stage of life or even a few seconds before death. But the usual procedure is for one to get the training from very early life, from the stage of brahmacharya, and gradually progress to the grahastha, vanaprastha and sannyas orders of life. And the training in vanaprastha and sannyas ashram is given for preparation of the next life. One is therefore required to give up the attachment to family or social or political life just at the age of 50 years, if not earlier. The best thing is that everyone voluntarily give up family relations by transferring attachment from family, society, country and everything thereof to the devotional service of the Lord. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.15 that one should give up all desires of family attachment. And both Varnas and Ashrams both are interrelated.
Really?
Yes. The Varnas are, so to speak, classification of different occupations. And Ashram Dharma is gradual progress on the path of self-realization. Both are interrelated and one is dependent on the other. The main purpose of Ashram Dharma is to awaken knowledge and detachment.
I see.
Varnashram Dharma is also known as Sanatan Dharma or the eternal occupation. The life of a human being is a chance to prepare oneself to go back to Godhead or to get rid of the material existence, the repetition of birth and death. Thus, in the system of Varnashram Dharma, every man and woman is trained for this purpose. In other words, the system of Varnashram Dharma is also known as Sanatan Dharma or the eternal occupation. Varnashram Dharma prepares a man for going back to Godhead. And thus, a householder is ordered to go to the forest as Vanaprastha to acquire complete knowledge and then to take sannyas prior to his inevitable death. The climax of the system of Varnashram Dharma or Sanatan Dharma is clearly expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam. The highest benefit that can be awarded to a human being is to train him to be detached from sex life.
Detachment from sex life. Why, out of so many things in the world, Varnashram trains for detachment from sex life as its climax?
Yes, because it is only due to sex indulgence that the conditioned life of material existence continues birth after birth. Human civilization in which there is no control of sex life is a fourth class civilization, because in such an atmosphere there is no liberation of the soul engaged in the material body. Any form of religious principle in which the followers are trained to pursue the vow of celibacy is good for human being because only those who are trained in that way can end the miserable life of material existence. Like the principles of nirvana, as recommended by Lord Buddha, are also meant for ending the miserable life of material existence.
Detachment from sex, how is it done?
The Varnashram system trains the follower to adopt the vow of celibacy beginning from the order of Brahmachari. The Brahmachari life is for students who are educated to follow strictly the vow of celibacy.
Why is brahmachari training from young age?
You see, youngsters who have had no taste of sex life can easily follow the vow of celibacy, and once fixed in the principle of such life, one can very easily continue to highest perfectional stage, attaining the kingdom of Lord. A householder attached to family life can easily give up such a life of sex indulgence if he has been trained in the principles of the life of a brahmachari.
Uh-huh.
The householders and persons who have deliberately broken the vow of celibacy cannot enter into the kingdom of deathlessness. They are called Abhradvrata. Abhradvratas are those who have broken the vow of celibacy. The Vanaprasthas or those retired from family life and sannyasis or the renounced persons cannot break the vow of celibacy if they want success in the process. The brahmacharis, vanaprasthas and sannyasis do not intend to take rebirth, nor are they meant for secretly indulging in sex life.
Prabhuji, but if someone falls down, what is the way for him?
Such a fall down by the spiritualist may be compensated by another chance for human life in good family of learned Brahmins or of rich merchants for another term of elevation. But the best thing is to attain the highest perfection of deathlessness as soon as the human form of life is attained. Otherwise, the whole policy of human life will prove to be a total failure. Lord Chaitanya was very strict in advising his followers in this matter of celibacy. One of his personal attendants, Chota Haridas, was severely punished by Lord Chaitanya because of his failure to observe the vow of celibacy. For a transcendentalist, therefore, who at all wants to be promoted to the kingdom beyond material miseries, it is worse than suicide to deliberately indulge in sex life, especially in the renounced order of life. Sex life in the renounced order of life is the most perverted form of religious life, and such a misguided person can only be saved if by chance he meets a pure devotee.
Uh-huh. Prabhuji, how does sex life become the source of bondage?
It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that Pumsa Striya Maithuni Bhavumetam Tayor Mithordaya Granthi Mahu Ato Gruha Kshetra Sutapta Vittair Janasya Mohoyam Aham Mameti. This sex life is the basic principle of material life, attachment for man or woman. And when they are united, when a man and woman are united, that attachment becomes increased. And that increased attachment will induce one to accumulate graha, a home, kshetra, land, sudha, children, apta, family or society. And vitta, vitta means money. In this way, gruha, kshetra, sutapta, vitta, he becomes entangled. Chanasya mohoyam, this is the illusion. And by this illusion, he thinks, aham mameti, I am this body. And anything in relation with this body is mine. Remember, we are supposed to get out of the bodily platform to the spiritual platform and practice the occupation of the soul.
Right.
But sex keeps us on the bodily platform.
Uh-huh.
Yes, therefore, man and woman. So, if you want to get liberation from this material world, then that attachment should be reduced to nil. Otherwise, simply further attachment. You will have to take rebirth either as a human being or as a demigod or as an animal, as a serpent, as a bird, as a beast. You will have to take birth. So, this basic principle of increasing attachment is not our business, although it is the general tendency. Griha, Kshetra, Sutta, home, land, sons. But if one can reduce and stop it, that is first class.
Right.
So, this sex life increases the bodily concept of life. Therefore, the whole process is to reduce it to nil.
And the training to be detached from sex life has to be started from the young age, right?
Yes. Therefore, our Vedic system is to first of all train the boy as brahmachari, no sex life. The Vedic principle is to reduce attachment, not to increase it. Therefore, the whole system is called Varnashram Dharma.
But in the material world, Prabhuji, we have come to enjoy. And so, many of us won't be able to give up the sex life even after brahmachari training.
Yes. So, under this system, the regulative principles are so nice that even if one has the tendency to enjoy material life, he is so nicely molded that at last he achieves liberation and goes back home, back to Godhead. This is the process. So, sex life is not required. But because we are attached to it, therefore, there are some regulative principles under which it is maintained.
Right. So, to reduce it over the stages of your life, like grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas, right?
Yes, reduce it. A boy is trained as a student up to 25 years, restricting sex life, brahmachari. So, some of the boys remain naishtiki brahmachari, celibate for life, because they are given education and they become fully conversant with spiritual knowledge. They don't want to marry. This is also restricted. He cannot have sex life without being married. Therefore, in human society, there is marriage, not in animal society. But according to Vedic culture, we are interested in sex only for begetting children. That's all.
Right. Prabhuji, can you please tell me regarding the brahmachari ashram first?
Yes.
What age does it start, the brahmachari ashram?
In the beginning of life, the children, beginning from 5 years old up to 25 years, they are trained up as brahmachari. Why? Just to control the kamam dushpuram. Those who are not in bad association from childhood, if they practice celibacy, they are not disturbed. They are not disturbed. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni is describing how civilization should be advanced. The first proposal is brahmachari. How to create brahmachari? Brahmachari guru gruhe vasandanto guror hitam. What is that? So, what is the duty of brahmachari? It is now said. The first duty is that sayam pratar upasita. They should be taught how to worship the Supreme Lord at least twice in a day. Sayam prata, in the morning and in the evening. Trisandhya. This prescription is for Trisandhya. One should take bath 3 times. In India, there is no difficulty. Even in Western countries, you have got very good arrangement. Hot water and cold water. You can arrange and can take bath. This is essential. Not that sleeping up to 10 o'clock. This kind of civilization will not help you. So the first teaching is brahmachari should rise early in the morning. Brahmachari, that is the general education. It doesn't require that you have to learn some book immediately. No. First of all, build your character. Otherwise, what is the use of taking degrees if you have no character? Yasyasya bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sarvair gunair tatra samasate sura. If you become a devotee of Krishna, just like in our institution, they are being trained up as devotee. So to rise early in the morning is automatically there. There is no separate training. Because he is devotee, he has to rise early in the morning for offering Mangalarti. And you have got our order that everyone must attend the Mangalarti. That is automatically brahmachari. Sayam pratar upasita. And what is the upasana? The first guru. Guru Agni Arka means sun and then God. Therefore you see in our deity room there is picture of Guru first of all.
Right.
They must rise early in the morning, at least 1.5 hours before sun rises, and offer oblations, or in this age, they must chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna. As referred to by Lord Chaitanya, Kalau nasteva 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 gatirannatha. There is no other alternative in this age to chant the holy name of the Lord. The brahmachari must rise early in the morning and after placing himself should chant the holy name of the Lord. When Swayambhuva Manu approached Kardab Muni for his daughter, from the very features of the sage, it appeared that he had undergone great austerities. That is the sign of one observing brahmacharya, the vow of celibacy. If one lives otherwise, it will be manifest in the lust visible in his face and body. The word Vidyotmanam indicates that the brahmachari features showed in his body. This is the certificate that one has undergone great austerities in yoga. Generally, yogis look very skinny because of their not being comfortably situated. But Kardab Muni was not emaciated, for he had seen the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face. Similarly, one who hears the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, also improves in health. We have actually seen that many brahmacharis and grahasthas connected with the International Society for Krishna Consciousness have improved in health and a luster has come to their faces. It is essential that a brahmachari engaged in spiritual advancement look very healthy and lustrous. Discipline. A brahmachari is trained in discipline. Like in the case of Narad Muni, our predecessor Acharya, he tells his own story. He was a small boy in his earlier life and he was initiated by the Bhakti Vedantas. But before the initiation, he, the boy, became more and more advanced in discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in this line. In the system of Varnashram Dharma, which is the beginning of actual human life, small boys after 5 years of age are sent to become brahmachari at Guru's ashram, where these things are systematically taught to the boys, be they king's son or sons of ordinary citizens. The training was compulsory, not only to create good citizens of the state, but also to prepare the boy's future for spiritual realization. The irresponsible life of sense gratification was unknown to the children of the followers of the Varnashram Dharma. The boy was even injected with spiritual acumen before being placed by the father in the womb of the mother. Both the father and the mother were responsible for the boy's success in being liberated from the material bondage. That is the process of successful family planning. It is to beget children for complete perfection.
I see. Prabhuji, what is the importance of being trained in discipline?
Without being self-controlled, without being disciplined, and without being fully obedient, no one can become successful in following the instructions of the spiritual master. And without doing so, no one is able to go back to Godhead.
I see.
That's why discipline is mandatory. And a brahmachari from the very beginning of his life, he is trained to act only for Guru. That is brahmachari. It is enjoined that a brahmachari live at the shelter, at the care of Guru, just like a menial servant. Krishna also, although he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, when he was living as brahmachari at his Guru's house, Sandipani Muni, he was collecting wood, fuel from the jungle. He was going daily. It is not that because he was Supreme Personality of Godhead, therefore he should not go. No. A brahmachari is trained up from the very beginning how to become a sannyasi at the end of life. How he is trained up? He is trained up to collect for Guru alms. Everywhere the brahmachari would go to householder and they ask, Mother, give us some alms for my Guru Maharaj. All the ladies would give him because everyone's son go to the Gurukul. So there was no hesitation. And the brahmachari would collect and bring it in the ashram. And then he should just live like a menial servant. He may be a king's son or a very learned Brahman's son. But when he lives at Gurukul, he has to work. So a brahmachari is trained in such a way that although he has collected everything, but he does not claim anything. He does not keep anything with him. Even though he has to eat in the ashram, but that he will eat upon the calling by the Guru. My dear such and such, please come and take prasadam. It is said, if the Guru forgets to call him one day, he will not take his food. This is called brahmachari, means strictly following. And they used to call every woman from the beginning of life, mother. This is the training. Matravat paradareshu, from the very beginning of life. All women, they are treated as mother. That is the system, Vedic system. Everyone will call a woman as mother. Never mind whether she is younger or older. It doesn't matter. Woman has to be addressed as mother. That is Chanakya Pandit's instruction. Who is a learned scholar? Who has got 3 qualifications? He is a learned scholar. What is that? Matravat paradareshu. One of them is to treat all women as mother. Nowadays, it has been introduced in India, Behenji. No, this is not the etiquette. The etiquette is to address every woman, never mind whether she is young or old, as mother. This is brahmachari. This is brahmachari. The brahmacharya is very strictly enjoined in the Vedic Shastra. Brahma, to maintain brahmacharya, it is advised, Matra swasra duhitrava na vivikta. Matra swasra duhitrava. So one should not sit down with woman in a secluded place, even though the woman is mother, sister, of daughter. So much restriction. And why? Balavana Indriya Gramaha. The senses are very powerful. Vidvamsam api karshati. Oh, senses may be powerful for the fool and rascals. No. Vidvamsam api karshati. Even one is very learned, advanced, still senses are so powerful that it can be agitated even before the mother, sister, and daughter. This is Vedic injunction. Brahmacharya. Tapasa brahmacharyena, damena, shamena. These are the human life. To accept brahmacharya life, tapasya, controlling the senses, controlling the mind, tyagena, by giving in charity, whatever he possesses. These are the different processes. And a brahmachari is supposed to assist a sannyasi. Therefore, a brahmachari should not try to instruct a sannyasi. That is the etiquette. A brahmachari and sannyasi does not remain at home. The brahmachari goes to the spiritual master's home, and the sannyasi, he is a traveler from one country to another, preaching. So they are not at home.
Right.
Brahmachari shall go from door to door and beg alms and bring it for the spiritual master. The spiritual master is a sannyasi. So whatever the brahmacharis bring, they cook and they eat and they cultivate spiritual Krishna consciousness. That is the system. And as I said, brahmachari means no sex life. No sex life. Even the guru, sometimes guru, mostly in a school, the teachers, they were householders. It is restricted. If the guru has a young wife, you should not go to carry out her orders. It is restricted. This is brahmachari life. Voluntarily accepting hardship for making life successful. That is brahmachari life.
Prabhuji, is brahmachari ashram only for boys?
Brahmachari is meant for the boys, not for girls. Girls, they are to be married. A brahmachari may remain unmarried for life, but according to Vedic civilization, a girl must be married. Before the age of attaining puberty, it is the duty of the father, or if she has no father, it is the duty of the elder brother to get her married somehow or other. Give her in responsibility to another young man. This is the duty. Yes.
Prabhuji, then the female population will be more than the males. Then how will all of them get married?
Yes. Female population is always bigger than the male population. Then you can ask, where so many husbands? Yes. Therefore, polygamy was allowed. And the kings, the Kshatriyas, who had money and who had very nice strength also, they used to marry more than one wife. You'll find all the Kshatriyas, even Krishna, the best Kshatriya, he married 16,108 wives. Wholesale.
I see. Prabhuji, till what age is this brahmachari training? I mean for grihastha.
Brahmachari, no sex life, up to 25 years. Throughout the whole life, but at least for 25 years. That is called brahmachari ashram. But if one is still persistent for sex life after being trained for 25 years, he is allowed to marry. That is called grihastha ashram. And because he has been trained up to be detached from sex life, so for some time he enjoys, then he gives it up. Just like Maharaj Parikshit, Jahau, Viruddham Mamata Jahau. There was training. Therefore Parikshit Maharaj could give up.
Right.
So that was brahmachari ashram. Now grihastha ashram.
Okay.
So the first education is brahmachari. Don't enter this pumsastriyamaitu nibhavam. That is education. That is called brahmachari. Warning that it is not good. Better remain brahmachari. Brahmachariti iti brahmachari. Remain with Brahman. Celibacy. You will be happy. That is the first education. Brahmachari. Then one, if he is unable to remain brahmachari, alright. Take wife regulated. Grihastha. First of all, education is don't unite. Remain brahmachari. But if you are not able, alright. Take a wife like a gentleman and live like a gentleman. Eko nari brahmachari. That is also. If one is satisfied with one woman, then he is also brahmachari. He is not vyabhichari. So that is regulated. That you must have wife. Not must have, but if one cannot avoid, take one wife and remain as a grihastha. And there are so many rules and regulations of grihastha life. Grihastha life is not that Whenever I like, we have sex. No, that is not. That is regulated. Once in a month. There are so many rules and regulations. Grahastha means one who follows the rules and regulations of sex life. That is Grahastha. Not that simply united man and woman and live like animals. No, that is not Grahastha. Grahastha means he is as good as sannyasi. Grahe tishtati ipi Grahastha. He is not suitable to become a brahmachari because every facility is there but regulated. And one who follows the regulated principles, he is ashram. So, what is the big plan behind these regulative principles? The big plan is here is the attraction, Pumsa Striya Maithuni Bhavam, to cut down this attraction between male and female. This is the big plan. Otherwise, there is no need of the Varnashram. Varnashram means to train the candidates gradually to become free from this entanglement of man and woman. This is the basic principle. Yoga system is also the same thing. Jnane, that is also same. Karma also. The karma kandya vichara, that is also. One has to take sannyas at the ultimately. Chatur varna maya srishtam gunam karma vibhagasha. Gradually, if one cannot take it immediately. So this is training of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, the central point is kama. So that when the kama is fulfilled, because a man is searching after a woman and woman is searching after man, when they unite, then the kama becomes hard knot, very tightly. When they are separated, there is chance of not being tied. But as soon as they are tied up by marriage or by some way or other, then tayor mitha hrudaya granthim ahur. Hrudaya granthim. We are already attracted to these things. And when it is united, then we see practically in our Indian families that when the boy is grown up and the girl is grown up, the father and mother unite them by marriage system everywhere. But in India, still going on. Why? Because unless he is married, he will not get attracted to this material life. That's why the regulated life and ultimately detachment from sex life, which is the cause of bodily conception and bondage to material world.
Right.
Grahastha means graha. Grihe tishtati iti grahastha. Grahastha means one who stays in graha, in house. He is called grahastha. So we can be called grahastha also? We are living in a house? No. Shastra says, na graham graham ityahu. Simply a house is not graha. There must be the housewife. That means wife. Grihini graham uchyate. In Hindi, this word is used. Gharwali means if there is no wife, that is not graha. And another Chanakya Pandit says, Putrahinam graha shunyam. You have got wife, but if you have no children, that graha is also void. So grahastha means to live with wife and children and cultivating spiritual life. That is called grahastha. Ashram. When the word ashram is added, ashram, that means it has got a reference to cultivation of spiritual life. So grahastha ashram. One can live at home with wife and children, but the business should be Krishna consciousness. You live with wife, children peacefully if you like, but bring in Krishna in the center. That is grahastha ashram.
Right.
And grahastha means he knows everything, but he is not so advanced, but he wants to live with wife and children, but for Krishna consciousness. That is grahastha. And those who are not Krishna conscious, simply living like animals and has got children and wife, they are animals. They are grahameri. The grahastha means he is making the best use of a bad bargain.
Prabhuji, what is the difference between the grahastha and grahamedi?
Yan maithunadi grahamedhi sukham hi tuchham. Grahamedhi means a so-called householder. There are two words, grahamedhi and grahastha. Grahastha means that is called ashram. Grahastha ashram. To live with wife and children, but the business is how to develop Krishna consciousness. That is grahastha ashram, as we recommend. And where there is no such attempt, how to develop Krishna consciousness, that is grahamedhi. But grahastha means they will see whether every moment is utilized for Krishna. So human civilization means grahastha, not grahamedhi. If you become grahastha, then you are nice. Then you are advancing towards self-realization. That is required. Godas means the mind is dedicating. Please eat more, please sleep more, please have sexual more, please have defense fund more. So this is materialism. But grahastha means no dictation of the senses. Then you become Goswami. Then, as Narottam Das Thakur says, Graheva banete thake, ha Gauranga bole dake. Ha Gauranga, always chanting Gaur Nitaya and thinking of Gaur Nitaya. Such person, Narottam Das Thakur says, Graheva, he may be a sannyasi, he may be a grahastha, it doesn't matter, because he is absorbed in the thought of Gaur Nitaya. So, Narottam mange tandera sangha. Narottam is always desiring to associate with such person. Graheva bane take, ha Gauranga bole dake. Narottam mange tandera sangha. Narottam is always desiring the society of such person. Krishna kirtana gana nartana parau, premamrutam vyonidhi, dhira dhira jana priyo. And there are so many rules and regulations of Grahastha life. Grahastha life is not that whenever I like I have sex. No, that is not. That is regulated. Grahastha means one who follows the rules and regulations of sex life. That is Grahastha. Grahamedi means he does not know the rules and regulations. He thinks that this family, this husband and wife, children, home, that is everything. That is called Grahamedi. But Grahastha means he is as good as sannyasi.
Right.
One Grahastha Vaishnava, householder Vaishnava, he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that what is the duty of a Grahastha, householder Vaishnava? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said in 2 lines, Asat Sangatyaga, Ei Vaishnava Achar, don't associate with nonsense asadhus. Asat Sangatyaga, Ei Vaishnava Achar, 1 line. A Vaishnava's behavior is to give up the association of demons, non-devotee. Because sadhu means devotee, sadhureva samantavya. So a Mahatma, a Grahastha, a householder who is interested to re-establish his lost relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not interested with the association of such persons who are simply, interested in bodily comforts. Dehambara vratikeshu. Also, the householder is duty bound to maintain the members of all 3 of the other ashrams, namely the brahmacharis, the vanaprasthas and sannyasis. In this way, every member of the society was given a chance to retire for a higher order of spiritual culture, and the householders neglected no one. The brahmacharis, vanaprasthas and sannyasis are curtailed their necessities to the minimum, and therefore no one would begrudge maintaining them in the bare necessities of life.
I see. So the householders is supposed to maintain the brahmacharis, vanaprasthas and the sannyasis.
Yes, the grahastha is supposed to support others who are not grahastha, just like brahmachari. Brahmachari means student life. So grahasthas support them. Sannyasis, other 3 classes, because they are engaged in different subject matter. They have no time to earn their livelihood, and therefore those who are grahasthas, they take charge of him. This is the Vedic system. The social system, the Varna institution is so made that the brahmachari will beg from the householder, the vanaprastha will beg from the householder, and the sannyasi also beg from the householder. So householder is the only earning member who will feed all these 3 different status of social orders. And it is the duty of the grahastha to treat brahmachari and sannyasis as their son. As they maintain their children with food, shelter, clothes, similarly, the brahmacharis and sannyasis, they are dependent on the society. They should be treated as sons of the society. Yes, if I see woman as mother, she must see me as a son. That's all.
Right.
That is the Vedic system. The brahmachari, the sannyasis, go to beg alms from door to door. Mother, give me some bhiksha, alms. And it is the duty of the grahastha to treat brahmachari and sannyasis as their son. As they maintain their children with food, shelter, clothes, similarly, brahmacharis and sannyasis, they are dependent on the society. They should be treated as the sons of the society, and they must supply their necessities, bare necessities. A sannyasi, brahmacharis, does not want more than what they need.
Right.
It is the duty of grahastha to sometimes invite sannyasis to take food at his home. It is the duty of a grahastha to loudly cry, if anyone is hungry, please come, we have got still food. This is the duty of grahastha. If one does not come, then the chief of the house, he takes prasad. If somebody says, I am hungry, so he should offer his own food. You eat. This is duty of grahastha. Bhunjatete तो अघम पापा ये पचंती. Those who are cooking for themselves, they are simply eating sinful things. That's all. Punjate te tvagam papa ye pachantyatma karanat. So hospitality is one of the duties of the householder. Atithi. Atithi means guest without any information. That is called Atithi. Tithi means date. So if I go to your house, I inform you that to such and such date I am coming there. But Atithi, he does not inform you. All of a sudden comes. So you should have to receive him. That is called Atithi. Pantha. People are moving. Formerly, if some of the walkers in the street, suppose he has become hungry, so he enters anyone's house. So, I am hungry, sir, give me something to eat. He will immediately take Pantha Bhaga. There is a stock of food stuff which is called Pantha Bhaga. If somebody comes all of a sudden, he should take.
Prabhuji, the temple should also have some prasadam there, right?
Temple must have, even ordinary grahastha. That is Vedic civilization. Not that we cook for ourselves, for my husband, for my wife and children, eat it sumptuously and go to bed. No. Even grahastha, he should be always prepared to receive guest. Yes, and even a guest comes your enemy, you should receive him in such a way that he will forget that you are all enemies. Gruhe shatrumapi praptam vaishavastam akuto bhayam. Yes, yajna dana. Dana means charity. A grahastha, those who are living in family life and with wife and children, they are expected to give in charity as much as possible. That is also service. So that is grahastha ashram. Now vanaprastha ashram.
Right.
So long the life is there, everyone is thinking, I have got this responsibility, I have got this responsibility, I have got this responsibility. And they are working very, very hard and doing all nonsense. Nunam pramatto kurute vikarma. First of all, whatever he earns by hook or by crook, first of all, he wants to see that his wife, children are fed up very nicely. And at last, if there is some remnants, he can eat out of affection. You see? So therefore, this affection is the very hard knot for being bound up in this material world. This affection. Therefore, the Vedic civilization is that the affection is to be cut off, compulsory at a certain age. Not that the affection should continue. If the affection continues, then there is no chance of my becoming free from this material world. There is no chance. Therefore, Vanaprastha, because affection with wife is very, very strong. So Vanaprastha means the husband and wife, they give up the affection. Not give up, go away from home and they travel in the holy places just to purify, and again, when the affection draws, they come to the family. Again remain for 1 or 2 months, then again go away. So the wife, there is no sex connection, but wife remains as assistant to the man to be accustomed how to remain aloof from the family. And then, when he is practiced to remain aloof, the wife is also sent back to the family, to the care of elderly children, and the man takes sannyas compulsory. To prepare oneself for the better next life, one must get out of one's so-called home. The system of Varnashram Dharma or Sanatan Dharma prescribes retirement from family encumbrances as early as possible after one has passed 50 years of age. In order to be saved from the danger of spoiling the human form of life and being attached to unreal things, one must take the warning at death at the age of 50, if not earlier. The principle is that one should take it for granted that the death warning is already there, even prior to the attainment of 50 years of age. And thus, at any stage of life, one should prepare himself for a better next life. The system of the Sanatan Dharma institution is so made that the followers is trained for the better next life without any chance that the human life will be spoiled. The holy places all over the world are meant for the residential purpose of retired persons getting ready for a better next life. Intelligent persons must go there at the end of life, and for that matter, after 50 years of age, to live a life of spiritual regeneration for the sake of being freed from the family attachment, which is considered to be the shackle of material life. One is recommended to quit home just to get rid of the material attachment, because one who sticks to the family life until death cannot get rid of the material attachment, and as long as one is materially attached, one cannot understand spiritual freedom. One should not, however, become self complacent simply by leaving home or by creating another home at the holy place, either lawfully or unlawfully. Many persons leave home and go to such holy places, but due to bad association, again become family man by illicit connection with the opposite sex. The illusory energy of matter is so strong that one is apt to be under such illusion at every stage of life, even after quitting one's happy home. Therefore, it is essential that one practices self control by celibacy without the least desire for sex indulgence. For a man desiring to improve the condition of his existence, sex indulgence is considered suicidal or even worse. Therefore, to live apart from the family life means to become self controlled in the regards to all sense desires, especially sex desire. The method is that one should have a duly sanctified sitting place made of straw, deer skin, and carpet, and thus sitting on it, one should chant the holy name of the Lord without offense. The whole process is to drag the mind from material engagements and fix it on the lotus feet of the Lord. This simple process alone will help one advance to the highest stage of spiritual success. So we have to minimize our bodily necessities of life and we have to expand the spiritual necessities of life. That is the perfect way of civilization. India's civilization was based on this principle. We can find in the history of old days that they knew everything. From the books we can understand they had advanced knowledge of material civilization, because we find the descriptions of aeroplane, description of television, but they were used only in limited circle, not that extensively. Because the whole process of civilization was to divert your attention too much for material advancement. But whatever little span of life you have got, just utilize it for spiritual advancement and get out of this material entanglement. That is the basic principle of civilization.
Right.
Therefore, then as soon as he reaches 50th year or little advanced, when he might have a grown-up child at the home, then the father and mother leaves home. Panchashordvam vanam rajet. The gentleman, when the boy is grown up, he may get his boy married and get out of home. The wife may remain with him as friend, but there is no sex life. That is called vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means retired life, and that is also another training. First training is brahmachari, so that when he becomes householder, he lives very restrained and regulated life. And then, after satisfying his senses, when he is grown up to 50 years, he is advised, get out. No more sense gratification. Now you prepare yourself for remaining days of your life for spiritual culture. That is called vanaprastha. So vanaprastha means retired life and training for completely renouncing this worldly life. And when he is prepared, the wife is asked to go back home. The grown-up boys will take care of her. Just like in Mahabharata, Vidura decided to quit his parental house and prepare for the renounced order of life. This preparatory stage is called Vanaprasthashram or retired life for traveling and visiting the holy places on the surface of the earth. In the holy places of India like Vrindavan, Haridwar, Jagannath Puri and Prayag, there are many great devotees and there are still free kitchen houses for persons who desire to advance spiritually. While Ajamil, he was old enough, still he was begetting child. But one who is Brahman, he would not stay in family life more than 50th year. Panchashordvam vanam prajet. One must go to the forest. Forest means vana. And therefore, one who goes to the forest, from the word vana, it is vana, vanaprastha. Prastha means one who has gone. This is regulative life. One has to take leave from this family life and accept the vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means prior to accepting the renounced order of life. The husband and wife go out from home and travel in many holy places to associate with holy men and take his instruction just to prepare for sannyas. So when one is fully equipped in knowledge, then he asks his wife to go to home to be taken care of by the elderly children and he becomes a sannyasi.
Prabhuji, is it better for Grahasthas to be self supporting and living outside the temple? Like somebody working all day and following the regulative principle?
Temple is meant for rendering service to the Lord. So, if anyone is rendering service to the Lord, he can live. But not for sense gratification. Those grahasthas who still have desire for sense gratification, they may live outside.
What about the Grahastha's duty towards his family? Like looking after his family and children? In India, like when you have a daughter, you have to get her married and
Yes, when you have accepted family life, you must be responsible to carry out. Not that I become family man, all of a sudden I give up everything. No, that is not wanted. But if one is actually advanced, he can give up everything. He has no more duty.
But the question comes up that you have given a vow against fire at the time of marriage that the husband will look after the wife and the family. Then how does that fit in when you leave the family all of a sudden?
No, not all of a sudden. All of a sudden, generally, you have to discharge the duties of family life. And at the ripe age, when everything is settled up, then you give up the family.
Is it right that all responsibilities should be cleared up before?
You cannot clear up all the responsibility. Therefore, up to the 50th year, after that, whatever is done, that's all. But our philosophy is there is no question of giving up this or taking up that. Simply take to Krishna consciousness. Wherever you remain, it doesn't matter. Either family life or
In the Vanaprastha ashram, after 50th year of age, what is the duty? Is it to live in the temple or devote most of the time to Krishna or where the wife comes in then?
temple you should live always. Even if in the family life, you must come to the temple. Temple worship is for everyone.
Uh-huh.
So that is Vanaprastha ashram. Now sannyas ashram.
Okay.
To accept sannyas means to commit civil suicide.
Uh-huh.
But sannyas is compulsory, at least for every Brahman, every first class human being. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very young and beautiful wife and very affectionate mother. Indeed, the affectionate dealing of his family members were so pleasing that even the demigods could not expect such happiness at home. Nevertheless, for the deliverance of all the fallen souls of the world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and left home when he was only 24 years old. He lived a very strict life as a sannyasi, refusing all bodily comforts. Similarly, his disciples, the six Goswamis, were ministers who had exalted positions in society. But they also left everything to join the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is called civil suicide. Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj used to say, commit civil suicide. Means, if you commit suicide, it is criminal. It is also suicide. No more connection with family. This is also suicide. But it is civil. There is no criminal action against. But it is voluntarily committing suicide. No more connection with anyone. Ata sab hari ara varnashrama dharma nishkinchana haya laya krishnaika sharana. Varnashram is planned for material life in a systematic way so that in due course of time one may give up the family relationship and take sannyas and completely devote for Krishna's service. This is the plan of Varnashram Dharma. Varnashram Dharma is not meant for planning something and you remain in the family. No. The Vanaprastha, when the gentleman is completely educated from renouncing this world, then he sends back his wife to grown up boys and he takes sannyas. Preparing is finished. Sannyas means he should distribute spiritual knowledge from door to door. That is his business. He has no family attraction. He has nothing to think of his maintenance because the society is advised to take care of brahmachari, vanaprastha and sannyas. Just see, this is spiritual communism. So, sannyasa means sata nyasa. Nyasa means to give up and sata om tat sat, the absolute truth. So, for the service of the absolute truth, Krishna, we give up all family life. Family life means to give up the whole world because people are struggling hard just to maintain the family. Nyasa means giving up. Giving up. Satanyasa. Sannyasa. Om Tat Sat. Sat is Krishna. Therefore, when you sacrifice everything for Krishna, that is real sannyas, not this dress. This dress is symbolic. That's all. Real thing is Karyam karma karoti ba. Karyam. Oh, it is my duty. Krishna wants everyone should surrender unto him. Then I shall teach everyone to surrender to Krishna. Karyam. This is my business. Karyam karma karoti sa sannyasi. What is that Karyam? Karyam means this is Karyam. Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya. You will take a practical. Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj gave him hint that book publication is more pleasing to him than Matha Mandir. So Prabhupada took it and he began to publish books and that has come successful. Karyam Karma. Prabhupada took it. Oh, Guru Maharaj wants that book should be published. So let me concentrate on this instead of Prabhupada's creating so many centers, big temples. But Prabhupada said that is not his primary duty. Prabhupada said his primary duty is write books. Therefore he was going on. These are coming automatically. Prabhupada said maybe that is the secret of his success. Karyam. That one should take the order of the Guru because Guru is representative of Krishna. So when one takes, that is explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in connection with the verse Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekeho kurunandana bahushaka yanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. So the vyavasaya is those who are fixed up in the words of Guru. So Guru has ordered me to do it. Oh, it is my life. I do not know whether I will be promoted to heaven or hell. It doesn't matter. I shall execute. Guru, yes, very easy. That is the secret. Yasya deve parabhaktir tatha deve yatha guru. Then he is sure to be successful. This is the secret. So sannyas, this is the process for conquering the agitation of mind. One is recommended to take the leave of family and live alone, maintaining body and soul together by begging alms and eating only as much needed to keep himself alive. Without such a process, one cannot conquer lusty desires. Sannyas means accepting a life of begging, which makes one automatically humble and meek and free from lusty desires. In this regard, the following verse appears in the Smriti literature. Dvandvahatasya karastyam dhyanabhangadikaranam lakshayitva grihi sapstam sannyaseda vicharayan. In this world of duality, family life is the cause that spoils one's spiritual life or meditation. Specifically, understanding this, one should accept the order of sannyas without hesitation. Every husband is too much attached to his wife. Therefore, to give up one's connection with his wife is extremely difficult. But if one can somehow or other give it up for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then the Lord Himself, although not able to be conquered by anyone, comes very much under the control of the devotee. Householder life means attachment for one's wife, whereas sannyas means detachment from one's wife and attachment to Krishna. One should be very much ashamed of remaining a householder and not promoting oneself to the two higher stages, namely Vanaprastha and sannyas.
Right.
Then, when the man is completely detached from family affection, he takes sannyas. This is called sannyas. No connection with family. So, sannyasam karmanam Krishna punar yogam cha sannyasi. If one continuously or permanently concentrates on living with his family, he should be understood to be killing himself. Vanam gatoyat dharim ashrayet. Sannyas means accepting unalloyed engagement in the service of the Lord. But it should be gradually done. Sannyas means ultimate success because this human life is meant for becoming disgusted with this material life, no more. And human life means to take freedom from these four things. No more afraid, no more sex, no more hankering after eating or sleeping. That is success. Ahara nidra bhayamaitram cha. And spiritual life means to become free from all this nonsense. That is spiritual life. They do not know what is spiritual life. The whole world, they do not know what is spiritual life. This is spiritual life, to become free from these four abominable things.
What if someone is trying to increase these four things?
That means cheating themselves. What is the use of taking sannyas and cheat yourself? Material life means punah punascharvita charvananam, repeatedly doing the same thing. Don't cheat. Accept sannyas and indulge in these things. Don't be cheater. That is very bad. Sannyas means to take vow. In other station of life, there may be we fall down. But sannyas means no fall down. Therefore, we have to take very seriously. Unless one is found completely competent to accept sannyas, there is no more use of avoiding sannyas. So this is the process. Tapasa brahmacharyena. Brahmacharya is very essential. And that is when one becomes distasteful to sex life. That is the beginning of spiritual life. Just like Prabhupada was a sannyasi. He was also a householder earlier. He had got wife and children. But Prabhupada said he was able to come to this stage of renunciation, forgetting all his relationship with his wife and children and family and home, because he was trained gradually. He was trained as brahmachari, as grihastha, by the mercy of his spiritual master. Therefore, he did not feel anything. That's what he said. But abruptly, if we take to sannyas order, then we have seen many persons abruptly take, or without understanding the self-realization process, he fails. He again comes back to the materialistic way of life in a different form. Suppose he begins his philanthropic work, some hospitalizing or opening educational institution. That is nice. But these things are being done by government and many philanthropic persons. That is not the duty of a sannyasi. A sannyasi, a renounced order of life, his main business is to spread Krishna consciousness or God consciousness. That is his real business. But if one has not the taste what is Krishna consciousness, simply accepting sannyas, then he will do all this nonsense work. So, gradually train for sannyas, not all of a sudden.
Right.
And actually, for Vaishnavas, sannyas is different. For a Vaishnava, acceptance of sannyas means getting relief from all material activities and completely devoting oneself to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Anasaktasya vishayan yatharam upayunjata nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagyam uchyate. Actually, in the Shastras it is forbidden. Kali Yuga, it is very difficult to follow the rules and regulations of a sannyasi. Therefore, better not accept sannyas. Kalo pancha vivarjayet sannyasam palapaitrikam devarena sutopattim kalo pancha vivarjayet. Instead of becoming a false sannyasi, do not accept sannyas. This is the injunction of the Shastra. But for preaching work, we have to get help of some sannyasi. But we should remember that we are in Kali Yuga. We should not be sentimentally very much anxious. Please give me sannyas, please give me sannyas. And then fall down and go to hell. That is not good. That is not good. If one is able to strictly follow the sannyas rules and regulations, he should take. Otherwise, Krishna said that sannyasa, real sannyas means one who does not take any remuneration for his service to Krishna. That is sannyas. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotyaha sa sannyasi. It is my duty. I am eternal servant of Krishna. To serve Krishna is my duty. Karyam, I must do it. Actually, that mentality is sannyasa. It doesn't matter whether we have changed the dress or not. But if we decided that I am eternal servant of Krishna, my only duty is to serve Krishna. That is sannyas. So better we should try to stay in this determination than to accept the sannyas order by changing the dress and then again we fall down. That is not very good. There are instances like that, but it is not at all good.
Right.
Renunciation means you should give up your process of sense gratification and apply yourself very seriously in the service of the Lord. That is called renunciation. That is explained in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Karma phala tyagam sannyasam. Sannyas means karma phala tyagam. Yajñarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. If you do not work for yajna, Vishnu, then whatever you are doing, you are being bound up by the reaction of such work. So, anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotyaha. This is also karma. Karyam karma karotyaha sa sannyasi. It is my duty. On this principle, when one works, he is sannyasi. He does not work for himself. He works for Krishna. And that is sannyasi.
Right.
This renounced order of life means dedicate completely for the service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita it is stated, Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha. Sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha kriyah. Lord Krishna said that one who acts for the sake of duty, not for enjoying the fruit, when it is possible. Now, if you are a family man, you have to work for maintaining your family. Therefore, you have to enjoy the fruit of your work. So, it is possible only for a person who had completely dedicated for the service of the Lord.
Right.
So, renouncement, simply giving up something, it is not good idea. You must have something better. Param društva nivartate. If you get something better, then you give up something inferior. Our Vaishnava philosophy, renouncement means renouncement of sense gratification. Our Vaishnava philosophy is giving up the wrong thing and accepting the right thing, side by side. Simply if I give up, it will not stay very long time.
Right.
So this kind of false sannyasa is not accepted by Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas, they accept sannyas for better activities. For better activity means dedicated life for satisfying the Supreme Lord. Mamekam sharanam vraja. Everyone who has sacrificed his life for Krishna, he is sannyasa. That is stated in Bhagavad Gita. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti va yassa sannyasi. But anashrita karma phalam, tyagi means karma phala tyag. That is tyag, real tyag. So, anashrita, without taking shelter of the results of activities. Karya karma karo, it is my duty. Just like Arjun did. Arjun understood that Krishna wanted the fight. He took it, karyam, that this I must do. This I must do. Krishna wants it because my business is to satisfy Krishna. Krishna explained to him Bhagavad Gita, and when he understood, then he took sannyas. What is that sannyas? Karishye vachanam tava. Yes, I'll fight. That's all. So this is sannyas. Anashrita karma phalam. He was first of all judging. If I kill my cousin brothers, my grandfather, there will be bad result. I'll go to hell. Now, later on decided, hell or heaven, I don't care for it. That is called anashrita. I don't take shelter of hell or heaven. I take shelter of Krishna. So, Narayana parasarve nakutaschan vibhyati swargapavarga narkyeshu apitulyartha darshanaha. So this renouncement for preaching Krishna consciousness, that is real sannyas. Just like when Prabhupada went to Western countries, actually sometimes Prabhupada had to live in a hell according to Indian standard, Vedic standard. So what can be done? Hell or heaven? Prabhupada did his duty. It doesn't matter. So this sannyas means do not care for personal sense gratification. Oh, this is inconvenience. This is convenience. Simply go on preaching Krishna consciousness. So this sannyas, anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti vasa sannyasi yogi. He is yogi, he is sannyasi in everything, who is simply working for Krishna. There will be some result, loss or gain. So if there is loss, that is Krishna's. If there is gain, that is also Krishna's. Not that loss is Krishna's and gain is mine. No, not like that. Everything Krishna's. We have to work for Krishna. Sannyas does not mean that simply taking this orange colored clothes. Sannyas means to become free from action and reaction. Because in the material activities, we are always creating action and reaction. So at a certain stage of your life, it is recommended, according to the Vedic standard of, order of society, one has to accept the sannyas order so that he may be free from the action and reaction. And how one becomes free from action and reaction? Simply by acting for Krishna. That is the formula. Sannyasa yoga yuktatma mukto mam upaisyasi. And so long you are not liberated from the actions and reactions, you cannot be liberated. You cannot be liberated. If you act for Krishna or you act in Krishna consciousness, then you are liberated. And liberated means you are at once transferred to the spiritual world. Mam upaisyasi. Mam means you can get me. You can get me. Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dvesho stina priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mai te teshu chapyaham. And this sannyas means following the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that Amaragya Guru Haya Tarai Desh Yare Dekha Tare Kaha Krishna Upadesh, or like Srila Prabhupada did tapasya. The sannyasis are meant for tapasya, penance. Srila Prabhupada would undergo all kinds of difficulties for spreading the knowledge that he had acquired. That is the proper sannyas. A sannyasi A renounced order man who is in the renounced order of life, his business is that his acquired knowledge, his experienced knowledge, should be distributed to the public. Our sannyasis, they work very hard, preach, they collect money, but not a single farthing for himself. A sannyasi should go door to door. Mahad Vishalanam Nranam Grahinam Dina Chetasam. A sannyasi is called Mahatma. Why he is Mahatma? Because his Atma is now broader. Grahinam Dina Chetasam. Mahad Vishalanam. Mahatma travels or wanders country to country, door to door. Mahad Vishalanam Nranam Grahinam, especially for the householders. Dina Chetasam, whose consciousness or mind is very crippled. They have no other idea. So, to enlighten them, it is the duty of the sannyasi to go from door to door, country to country, just to teach them about the aim of life. That is still going on in India. Still, if a sannyasi goes in a village, people will come to invite him, try to hear from him. Tirthi kuruvanti tirthani swanta. To become sannyasi means that he will be pure devotee and wherever he will go, he will purify. That is sannyas. Means Mahad Vishalanam Nranam Grahinam Dina Chetasam. Mahatmas, they will travel so that the householders who are crippled minded and full of sinful activities, they will go there and make them purified. This is the idea of sannyas. And in the Vedic civilization, a brahmachari and a sannyasi has open doors. There is no restriction. And then tapasya, dana and vrata. Krishna says that even if you have taken sannyas, you cannot give up these processes. What is that? Tapasya, dana and vrata. It is pavanani manishinam. Even if you have become manishi, very exalted great sage, still you should continue this tapasya. And tapasya means voluntarily accepting some miserable condition. That is called tapasya. Like you have seen many people, they are standing within the water and chanting Gayatri mantra. That is tapasya. Brahmachari, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. For them, the minimum necessities of life is prescribed.
Right.
Swamin Kritartosmi Varam Nayache. No more I want. And that is wanted. Asmi Varam Nayache. One should be fully satisfied. No more I want this material disease. That's all. Enough of it. That mentality required. I don't want anything material facility. Sannyas means that I shall live with the minimum necessities of life and simply devote. That is sannyas. I shall become sannyasi and enjoy all material facilities. That is not sannyas. Recommended that if there is no need, don't take even cloth. Remain naked. That is sannyas. But because we have to preach, because we have to go to the people, therefore some covering. Otherwise, this is also not necessary for a sannyasi. Nothing. Lie down on the floor, like the Shukdev Goswami said, and take water in your palm. No dress. Shukdev was also not dressing, naked. That is the prescription of sannyas. A brahmachari cannot be luxurious. A sannyasi cannot be luxurious. A vanaprastha cannot be luxurious. Luxury is allowed only to the householders because they are earning their own money. Others are dependent. So, one cannot be luxurious at expense of others. That is not allowed. Therefore, one in renounced order of life and thus live on charity only. Not for accumulating wealth, but just to pull on the body and soul together for ultimate realization.
Right.
If we want to go to the other side, spiritual world, so we have to become Nishkinchana. Nishkinchana means no more possessing anything material. That is called Nishkinchana. If we hanker after possessing material, therefore sannyasa. Sannyas means simply possessing Krishna and no other possessions. That is Nishkinchana. And Sharanagati. Even the birds and beasts, they do not try for their food and shelter. They are certain that somewhere we have got our shelter and there is somewhere my food. Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. Krishna, the supreme patron, he is supplying food to everyone. He is supplying food to the elephant who eats one time 100 pounds. And he is supplying a grain of sugar to the ant also. So why should bother about my food? That is Sharanagati. When a man becomes Sharanagata, he knows perfectly well that Somehow or other, there is my food. A sannyasi means sata nyasa, to fully surrender to Krishna. But the sannyasis they misuse in another way. Actually, sannyas means to fully surrender. Aniketa, automatically Aniketa. There is no place to live, no money. Sannyas means Aniketa. Also, a sannyasi must give up the company of woman. But if a sannyasi hears the voice of a woman and sees her beautiful face, he certainly becomes attracted and is sure to fall down.
Roshi, what is the difference between a Goswami and Swami?
Yes, Goswami or Swami, the same meaning. When one is actually a sannyasi, master of senses, he can be addressed as Goswami or Swami.
Prabhuji, what is Tridandi sannyasi means?
You can serve Krishna in so many ways. Karmana manasa vacha etavat janma safalyam dehinam iha dehishu. Karmana manasa vacha shreya acharanam sada. Karmana manasa. We have got three venues. By working, karmana. By thinking, manasa. Karmana manasa vacha. And by speaking, we can do things. Karmana manasa vacha. So this Tridanda sannyas means there are four dandas. One danda is the what is called symbol of his person, and the other three dandas they are a symbol of his body, mind, and speeches. So karmana, this danda means I have taken now vow to engage myself, even whatever assets I have got. So I have got my assets. I can work with my body, I can work with my mind, and I can work by speaking. So Tridanda sannyas means one who has devoted his life, means his activities, his body, and his speeches. That is Tridanda sannyas. Anyone who has devoted his mind, his body, and his speeches for the service of the Lord, he is sannyasi. Sannyasi does not mean simply changing the dress and thinking otherwise. No, sannyasi, anyone, it does not matter whether the dress is changed or not. If one is fully engaged by his body, mind, and words, so sannyasi. It is said, Deha Vag Buddhijam Dhira Dharmatnyaha. One who has control, Deha the body, Vaka the words, Buddhi intelligence. They are Dhira. So this Tridandi sannyas means to become Dhira, controlling Sharira, Deha, the body, Vak, words, and intelligence. These things should be utilized. And unlike a Kshatriya who must not pretend to be non-violent, a sannyasi, on the other hand, must be non-violent. Yes, so they are contradictory. The main duties for a sannyasi are self-control and non-violence.
I see.
A Vaishnava, when he is asked about his identification, he gives Achyuta Gotra. Now I belong to the Achyuta, not to my original family. Now I belong to the family of Krishna, Achyuta Gotra. So to take sannyas means to become in the family of Achyuta. Achyuta Gotra. Gotra means family. So therefore it is understood Achyuta Gotra. Those who are renounced order of life, they are called Achyuta Gotra. One who does not utilize that gain for his sense gratification but works as a matter of duty, karyam karma karoti, sa sannyasi sa yogi cha. Such person is actually a sannyasi and yogi. You have heard the name of yogi. Yogi means that he has no other business. The sannyasi and yogi is the same because yogi has no other business. He is simply trying to concentrate his mind on Vishnu. Dhyana avastita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yogina. And without becoming a Brahman, there is no question of becoming sannyasi. First of all, he must be trained up to become a Brahman, then sannyasi. That is a fact. Without becoming a Brahman, there is no question of sannyas. Yes, sannyas, accepting sannyas life is also forbidden actually. Is also forbidden because nobody can actually follow strictly the rules and regulations. And neither anybody has got any inclination to accept sannyas. Therefore, in this age, sannyas is sometimes forbidden. Kalau pancha vivarjayet. But if you ask that why did Prabhupada take sannyas or you have got some sannyasis, this sannyas is not karma sannyas. This sannyas is devotion, Vaishnava sannyas. Vaishnava sannyasi means Anyone who gives up everything and devotes simply his time for pushing on Krishna consciousness movement, he is also sannyasi. Of course, because Lord Chaitanya accepted this sannyas, we are maintaining that system. But actual point of sannyas is not mukti, but satisfy Krishna. That is sannyas. How Krishna will be satisfied? How Krishna's representative will be satisfied?
Right. Prabhuji, what qualifications should the man have to take sannyas?
Who has no more material desires, then he is fit for taking sannyas. Sarvopadhi anyabhilashita shunyam. Shunyam means zero. All material desires made into zero, then sannyas. Sannyasi anasakta. That is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Anashrita karma phala karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi. Who is sannyasi? Anasakta. Anasakta means he is working day and night, but no attachment for the result.
Prabhuji, how is one able to draw the distinction between working very hard for Krishna and over endeavoring?
What is that? Phalena parichayate. By the result you can understand. By service Krishna, he will understand more about Krishna. Krishna will be clear to him. That is the test. Because it is said, Saivon mukhe hichihvadav swayam. Krishna cannot be realized by so-called speculation. But if you render service to Krishna, then Krishna will reveal to you revelation. So, how much service he is giving, that will be tested how much he has, realized Krishna. This is the test. If Krishna is still vague idea for him, then he is not advanced. That is the test. If you are actually serving Krishna, then Krishna will reveal to you. You will know what is Krishna. Asamshayam samagram maham. Without any doubt and fullness. Here is the test. If somebody comes, what is Krishna? You say, yes, I am serving Krishna, but I do not know what is Krishna. What is his service? He must know, because here it is said, Asamshayam samagram, without any doubt.
Right.
So that was sannyas.
Prabhuji, can you tell me the whole training term of duration of life? Like, how is it the journey in terms of years in summary for the ashrams?
Yes. It is said, Pumso Varsha Shatam Ya Ayu. So divide this Varsha Shatam, 100 years, 25 years Brahmachari, 25 years Grahastha, 25 years Vanaprastha, and last 25 years Sannyasa. That is real civilization. Not that no Brahmachari, no Vanaprastha, no Sannyas, simply Grahastha. They are not Grahastha. Grahastha ashram means it is as good as other ashram, Sannyas ashram, Grahastha ashram. If he lives according to the regulative principle, that is ashram. That is also not for all the time, only 25 years. Up to 5 years, the child is given full liberty. Whatever he likes, he may do. Lalayat panchavarshani. It is said that you can give liberty to the child only for 5 years. And tadiyat dashavarshani. As soon as he is on the 5th year, you must be very strict on the child, on the boy, so that he may not be spoiled. Very strict. Simply engage him in the proper education. Tadayat dashavarshani. And prapte tu shodashe varshe. As soon as he is on the 16th year, shodashe means 16 years. Prapte tu shodashe varshe putram mitravad acharet. The son, the boy, should be treated as friend. No more punishment. Then there will be reply. So there must be restraint. So from 16 years to 25 years, higher education. And after higher education, if the boy is still after sense gratification, he should be allowed to get himself married and enter into family life. That family life is allowed for another 25 years. When youthhood is very strong, let him beget some children. And of course, there is a regulation of children. One has to take care of children and he has to educate children. Not that irresponsibly begetting children. No. So family life. Then as soon as he reaches 50 years or little advanced, when he might have a grown-up child at home, then the father and mother leaves home. Panchashortvam vanam brajet. The gentleman, when the boy is grown up, he may get his boy married and get out of home. The wife may remain with him as a friend, but there is no sex life. That is called Vanaprastha. Vanaprastha means retired life. And that is also another training. First training is Brahmachari. So that when he becomes householder, he lives very restrained, regulated life. And then, after satisfying his senses, when he is grown up to 50 years, he is advised to get out. No more sense gratification. Now you prepare yourself for remaining days of your life for spiritual culture. That is called Vanaprastha. So Vanaprastha means retired life and training for completely renouncing this worldly life. And when he is prepared, the wife is asked to go back home. The grown-up boys will take charge of her. The Vanaprastha, when the gentleman is completely educated for renouncing this world, then he sends back the wife to grown-up boys and he takes sannyas. Sannyas means he should distribute spiritual knowledge from door to door. That is his business. He has no family attraction. He has nothing to think for his maintenance because the society is advised to take care of brahmacharis, Vanaprastha and sannyas. That is a system. Is it clear?
Yes, very clear. Prabhuji, what about woman's life? How does that?
So, Bhartur Vratadharma Nishtaya indicates that a woman's duty or religious principle is to serve her husband in all conditions. In Vedic civilization, a man is taught from the beginning of his life to become a brahmachari, then an ideal grahastha, then vanaprastha, then a sannyas. And the wife is taught just to follow the husband strictly in all conditions of life. After the period of brahmacharya, a man accepts a householder's life. And the woman is also taught by her parents to be a chaste wife. Thus, when a girl and boy are united, both are trained for a life dedicated to a higher purpose. The boy is trained to execute his duty in accordance with the higher purpose of life, and the girl is trained to follow him. The chaste wife's duty is to keep her husband pleased in householder life in all respects, and when the husband retires from family life, she is to go to the forest and adopt the life of Vanaprastha or Vanamasi. At that time, the wife is to follow her husband and take care of him, just as she took care of him in householder life. But when the husband takes the renounced order of life, namely sannyas, the wife is to return home and become a saintly woman, setting an example for her children and daughter-in-law and showing them how to live a life of austerity. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, his wife Vishnupriya, although only 16 years old, also took the vow of austerity due to her husband's leaving home. She chanted her beads and after finishing one round, she collected 1 grain of rice. In this way, as many rounds she chanted, she would receive the same number of rice grains and then cook them and so take prasad. This is called austerity. Even today in India, widows or women whose husbands have taken sannyas follow the principles of austerity, even though they live with their children. Prithu Maharaj's wife, Archi, was steadily determined to execute the duty of a wife. And while her husband was in the forest, she followed him in eating only fruits and leaves and lying down on the ground. Since a woman's body is considerably more delicate than a man's, Queen Archi became very fragile and thin. Parikarshita. When one engages in austerities, his body generally becomes lean and thin. Becoming fat is not a very good qualification in spiritual life because a person who is engaged in spiritual life must reduce the comforts of the body, namely eating, sleeping and mating, to the minimum. Although Queen Archi became very thin from living in the forest according to regulative principles, she was not unhappy for she was enjoying the honor of serving her great husband.
So, as I understand that a man is like an ideal leader who leads the family back to Godhead. But what if the man is not ideal and rather falls down? What happens then? What should the woman do?
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes a statement from Smriti Shastra. Patim tva apatidam bhajet. One should serve a master who is not fallen. Sometimes the foolish argument is given that even if a husband falls down from spiritual principles, his wife should continue to follow him since he is her guru. In fact, such Krishna consciousness cannot be subordinated to any religious principle. A guru who engages his followers in materialistic sinful activities loses his status as a guru.
Pertaining to the Varnashram Dharma system, a mother is the wife of a husband is usually put in charge of the oldest son. If say the husband is not present, then the oldest son is supposed to be in charge, and he is a brahmachari. In what way is the mother cared for?
Well, brahmachari means he has gone out of home. Brahmachari does not remain at home. He goes to the spiritual master's home. So there is no question of giving wife's charge to a brahmachari. He is not at home. Do you follow?
Yes.
The elderly children mean those who are married also. Those who are in grahastha life. For him, not for brahmachari or sannyasi. So if they are not at home, who is taking charge? To give charge means elderly son who is married man, who is living at home. The charge is given of the mother to him. Is it all right?
Yes. Prabhuji, women are taken as less intelligent. Is it true for devotees also? Devotee Matajis?
Krishna says, Mam hi partha vipashitya yepi syu papayoniyah striyo vaishya tatha shudrostyepi yanti param gatim. Krishna says, although ordinarily we take striyas means women, shudras and vaishyas in the lower grade, but when one becomes a devotee, he is or she is no more in the lower grade. Tepi yanti param gatim. The devotional service is so nice that anyone, ordinarily woman is taken less intelligent, Shudra is taken less intelligent, Vaishya is taken less intelligent, but if he takes to Krishna consciousness, he is the most intelligent. Krishna chai bhaje, sai bada chatur. That is the statement in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyone who has taken to Krishna consciousness, he is the most intelligent. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Guru Krishna Kripa paye bhakti lata bija. Kona bhagyavana jeev. Ei rupe brahmande brahmite kona bhagyavana jeev. Like Kunti Maharani, although is womanly body, she is a devotee. She is not like ordinary woman, less intelligent. She is the most intelligent. She has recognized Krishna, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Likewise, so just become a devotee, that's all.
Right.
So, any questions?
Yes, Prabhuji, regarding grahasthas, how many people in the society they live on charity? Like,
I told you, that is material calculation. So, suppose if there are 100 men, 75 men are to be considered brahmachari, vanaprastha and sannyasi. So, these 75 men will live at the cost of the 25 men. Grahastha. Grahastha has to give alms to brahmachari, to the vanaprastha and to the sannyasi. Just see how nice communism. The 125% group, they are earning and they are maintaining 75 men. So they are living by bhiksha.
you said grahasthas must give charity, dana. So, what is the expectation? Say one earns some amount and how much he should be, say.
Okay, suppose you are earning $1,000 in a month. So according to Vedic instruction, you should give in charity 50% of your income. $500 you should give in charity, and 25% you should spend for your family, and 25% as you are a family man, you may have it as bank balance, so that in case of emergency you may require it. That is the prescription. Suppose you are earning $1,000 a month, you should give in charity for God's service 50%, and 25% you should spend for your family dependents, and 25% you may have in a bank balance. So that this is the point. Now suppose if there are 100 persons in the society, 25% students, 25% retired life, and 25% sannyasi, renounced order of life. Now out of 100 persons, 75% they are engaged in service of the Supreme Lord. The rest 25% who are grahastha, they are meant for sacrificing 50% of their income for this 75%. That is the whole program of Varnashram Dharma. That is kind of spiritual communism. Spiritual communism. For spiritual advancement of a society, the whole social order is so arranged that 75% of people, they are engaged in the matter of spiritual advancement of knowledge, and 25% of population, those who are earning, those who in family life, those who have got factories, business and so many things, they should sacrifice 50% of their income for these 75% persons who are engaged in spiritual emancipation. So that is the whole program.
I see.
Yes.
So, as I perceive, Prabhuji, it seems like in a Varnashram society, most people, a majority percent of them are engaged in practicing to become Krishna conscious and literally nothing else. Right? Majority are doing only Krishna consciousness. 75%.
Yes, because it is designed for that aim.
Aha.
Yes. As for those who are not grahasthas, the brahmacharis, vanaprasthas and sannyasis, they do not have anything to do but strive for advancement in spiritual life. This means that 3/4 of the entire population should stop sense gratification and simply be engaged in advancement of Krishna consciousness. Only 1/4 of the population should be grahastha, and that should be according to laws of restricted sense gratification. The grahasthas, vanaprasthas, brahmacharis and sannyasis should endeavor together with their total energy to become Krishna conscious. This type of civilization is called Devi Varnashram.
I see. Guruji, one more thing. I had a question that I wanted to ask for a long time.
Yes?
Please, can you tell me precisely which ashramas are allowed for which varnas?
Yes. Brahmanas 4 ashram, and for the Kshatriyas up to Vanaprastha, just like Maharaj Yudhishthir. And all brothers, they left home, but the wife was there. That is called Vanaprastha. They did not take sannyas. Kshatriya up to Vanaprastha. Vaishyas, no Vanaprastha, no sannyas, up to Grahastha. Brahmachari is compulsory for Duja because there is the training. And for the Shudra, there is no Brahmachari, only Grahastha, married. Otherwise, life will be very irregular. So, in this way, Varnashram. So, these are the duties. Did you get it?
Yes. Are Shudras supposed to take sannyas also?
No, why? Those who are Shudras, they should not be allowed to take sannyas. Only those who are qualified Brahman, they will be allowed to take sannyas.
Kshatriyas used to take sannyas too?
Kshatriyas, some of them, not all.
Yudhishthir Maharaj?
They did not take sannyas, but they left home. There is no need for accepting sannyas. One has to perform the devotional activities. That is the real thing. Simply by changing dress, one does not improve unless he takes the seriously principles of devotional service. But in Kali Yuga, they'll think, because I have changed my dress, I have become a big sannyasi. You see? Because I have got a sacred thread, now I am a Brahman. No. There must be regular training. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, why should Kshatriya not take sannyas?
See, the Kshatriya are specifically trained for challenging and killing because religious violence is sometimes a necessary factor, as I told you earlier.
Right.
Therefore, Kshatriyas are never meant for accepting directly the order of sannyas or renunciation. Non-violence in politics may be a diplomacy, but it is never a factor or a principle.
Right.
So that's how it is. So any other question?
No, Prabhuji, that's all.
Nice. These are the political and social systems of Varnashram, or say the Vedic times. Now we shall see what happens in the modern styles of political and social systems, especially those which Srila Prabhupada discussed.
Alright.
Hare Rama,